I just love your book, The Future of Truth, which, as a comedian, I'm like, ha ha ha, he thinks truth has a future. You know, that's my first, my first reaction. But it is fascinating. I'm kind of a philosopher at heart, you know, and I love talking about these issues, truth and all those things. And I wanted to start with, how do you even define truth? And where do you start with that? And what leads you wanting to write about this particular subject?
Well, it came as a result of all my work I've done in cinema and also including in writing. I always had the feeling there's something mysterious, rock bottom that pervades all my work, and it somehow has to do with truth. And of course, nobody knows what truth is. I think there was a survey among professional philosophers a few years ago, 2,000 of them. So it was not just random a few, it was a comprehensive study. There's no clear answer what constitutes truth. Nobody knows. We certainly know it may be related to some degree to facts, but not necessarily.
Alternative facts.
Well, yes, that's a devious term, and we have to be careful. Or personal facts, or personal truth. All these things have become rampant today, and it's part of it has to do with the internet, with a phenomenal speed with which things are spreading. By the way, there are measurements that falsehoods, wild falsehoods, are spreading 3 times as fast as things that are factually correct.
Yeah.
So there are certain strange qualities about this, and one day I thought, I should address it. I should, and not as a philosopher. Of course, some of it inevitably has to do with philosophy, but without entering the debate of philosophy, which is highly technical today, or in mathematics. The discourse also has to do with truth, but mathematicians have fairly early given up the notion that mathematics necessarily has to do with truth. Within a closed system, yes, but not what we hope to find somewhere, sometime. And my experience was it is not out there. Like I can see it clearly, that's a polar star. No, I do not see it, and I think nobody sees it. But it's a quality of human beings. It's part of our humanness that we have a quest for. We are searching for truth. We basically know it must be somewhere in this direction, vaguely. All the rest is search. Is a voyage into the unknown, is defeats en route, disappointments, scrambling back up and trying to pursue. It's a long, never-ending pursuit. But in my case, it gave some sort of a specific resonance to my films, and it gives a specific resonance to my own life. I know what I'm doing makes sense, and in all this turmoil and craze and amorphous life, it gives some meaning and some dignity.
Yeah, you've hit on a lot of things there. One thing I picked up on that's interesting to me is there's kind of a colloquial use of the word truth when people say my truth. You know, which is different from, let's say, the Platonic version of truth. You know, Plato's version of truth was a larger notion of truth. There was an ideal that was out there, had nothing to do with him. In the search for truth, are both of those, do they lead to the same thing? Are they related? Is one real, the other nah?
Well, personal truth, we have to be careful, but it will come up all the time en route. What is the personal truth of the man in the lunatic asylum who believes he's Lenin or Napoleon Bonaparte or or Jesus Christ. By the way, there was a very interesting book that fascinated me. It's called The Three Christs of Ypsilanti. Ypsilanti is a lunatic asylum somewhere, I think in the Midwest. Three men at the same time declared they were Jesus Christ, and they had ongoing feuds. Who was the real Jesus?
Like to tell the truth. Well, the real Jesus Christ, please.
And it's just a very beautiful subject for a movie, or maybe even better for a theater play.
Right.
Because it's only dialogue, only conceptual.
And then some would argue, was Jesus Christ? You know, like the whole notion of a Jesus Christ and the whole need for a religion has to, in that Venn diagram of truth. You know, one thing you wrote in your book that I thought was really interesting, I wanted to quote because it's one of my favorite things, is I've always thought about this, by the way. And this is tied to religion because I'm fascinated with why religion is there in the first place. Like, why is it there in the first place? And one of the things you say in the book is the unending darkness of the time before we were born doesn't interest us that much, but we are haunted by the darkness after our death.
Yeah, well, there's billions of years ahead before we were born of nothingness, darkness. Then we come into life, we are puzzled and dazed and confused, struggle through life somehow. And most people are worried about the silence and darkness that ensues our physical life. So when we are gone, and we'll eventually disappear fairly quickly, biological life has very short lifespans, and people are too much worried about the millennia and the tens of thousands, millions of years after us. I don't find it worrying. It's it's a very natural sort of thing.
Yeah. Does truth require human beings? That's what I wanted to ask too. Like, can it exist on its own, or does it require this need that you talk about, this yearning for meaning? I always thought like religion is one of those things, even if you don't believe there's a God, religion had to exist because the bleakness of life after death, it was too bleak. You had to find meaning in some kind of way.
Well, the cows in the field do not do that. We do it. And it's a blessing that we have this capacity. And I love the human race for being capable of looking for truth. Truth outside of human beings, I don't know. I do believe that there's mathematics outside of human beings, that, for example, the Andromeda Nebula follows a mathematical pattern, where the mathematicians have discovered it, described it, and found it in life forms on our planet in form of ammonites and whatever. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if mathematicians have established and can calculate the qualities of a spiral.
Right.
And we know it's built with Fibonacci numbers. And yes, it can exist without our presence. Even though mathematicians and philosophers maintain that's not so certain, do not believe that everything out there could be a reality that is a reality that we see only as a model, that we only see as a figment of fantasy, and we don't know. Are we, for example, when I met Hiro Onoda, the last Japanese soldier who surrendered 29 years after the end of the Second World War, still believing that the World War was still on, and he derived it by clear observations. He saw American planes going overhead on a small Philippine island, going overhead, moving west. He thought, the theater of war had moved west. Indeed it had, it was a Korean War, but it was not the Second World War anymore. Then a few years later, for 9 years, B-52 bombers, battleships, all passing Lubang Island, this jungle island that he held. For him it was proof, yes, the war is still on. and many other elements that somehow connected to a fabric of truth. For him, it was something derived through intelligent observation. In the context, the observations were all correct, but the context was not.
Yeah.
And it's in a way a tragic story because it was a figment. It was a fictitious war that he fought. And it's a wonderful, wonderful conversations I had with Onoda.
Yeah.
For example, that we live in our model of a fictitious model, for example, of time, that we speak of the present. Tonight is the 2nd of November, and tomorrow it's all still our time. Tomorrow is going to be elections in New York, and yesterday the Dodgers won the World Series.
Yay!
Yes, I'm very proud as somebody who lives in Los Angeles. So, but in present time, we live in the 21st century and so on. We create a model of present time, but present time technically does not exist.
Yeah.
There's only past and there's only future, meaning when Onoda steps in the mud, makes one step, lifting his foot is already past, stepping down is already future.
Yeah.
In the middle, and you can have shorter and shorter intervals. It is a model. We create a model of presence, present time. And we do it. We create these fictions because otherwise it would be very, very hard to live. It would be awkward, hard, and brutal to live without fictions, without cheating our own memories, without, or our memories are not reliable. There's no truth in the human mind. And I'm quoting here one of the foremost scientists and scholars on brain and the human brain, Jack Gallant. And he has studied the brain all his life and is arguably one of the foremost scientists. There's no truth in the human brain, and I find it very fascinating.
That is fascinating. I'm sure you put some thought into why is truth so easily a casualty of being fucked with? Pardon my French, but let's go back to Nazi Germany. You mentioned some of that. I mean, the way that when you look back on that, and so many scholars have and everything, and we go over again about arguments about how it started and everything, but it really did start with a big lie, right? With the bending of the truth. It didn't start with aggression. It didn't start with this or that. It started with an idea, with a lie. Right? Why are people so susceptible to the bending of truth? That's
the greatest of all mysteries, and I'm still trying to understand at least part of it. And I have done some sort of homework. Just the day after I finished high school, I went straight to Africa because it was a time of the Congo crisis. The Congo had become independent barely a year ago, and there was absolute absence of structures, of order, of truth, of justice, of systems, of orderly forces, civil war, cannibalism, anything you can imagine. And within less than a year, it all had collapsed. Of course, reason behind that is the ravages of colonialism. That was always clear to me. But I wanted to see how does a fairly organized country like the Congo come apart. And in case of Germany, the most stunning for me is the speed. Within only 7, 8, 9 years,
Right.
a country so civilized, with the greatest musicians, composers, historians, writers, philosophers, unravels and becomes utterly barbaric.
Yeah.
It's a puzzle that has never left me, and I do not have answers, only partial answers.
Do you think they became barbaric, or they had permission to be to be barbaric? Like, is that a trait that you just have to control, and they were allowed to just be that?
Also a very hard question. Give me a year and then I might come up with some sort of an answer. I think you don't need, it's not a question of permission. In my observation of real life and atrocities, and I've seen atrocities with my own eyes, and I have been imprisoned in Africa a couple of times. So I've seen things that normally a young man doesn't see.
Right.
And I have the feeling that civilization is a very fragile layer upon a thin layer of ice that can break easily, and under it is a bottomless, dark, unending barbarism. So how
Happy holidays, everybody.
Yes. Now I sound, don't make me to sound like the,
I understand.
like the Teutonic
Sure.
doomsday prophet. No.
Civilization partly exists to thwart those natural urges.
Yeah. No, we better watch out. We have to become vigilant, and we have to enjoy what we have.
Sure.
Enjoy what we've got. And a few things that now recently come to mind is how is it possible that there are Auschwitz deniers out there?
Right.
Which is incredible.
Yeah.
And how is it possible that on a much more harmless level, they don't do any harm? People who deny that there was a moon landing by Americans. Yes, but it was so manifest, and it was with such density. The entire world, it's not just a few journalists in America watched it. And I remember also very well, I was up at 4 a.m. waiting for something, and nothing had happened, and then all of a sudden. So the entire world was watching, and we were prepared for years before that, and we saw every single detail. And it has a density of proof and manifestation that is beyond all doubts and beyond all whatever.
Yeah, I've always had a theory, I've shared this before, about people that have conspiracy theories, which I believe is like kind of a narcissistic attachment to their version of the truth, really. It's rooted in narcissism. But my theory is that they always...
Or it's a paranoia, a collective paranoia. Let's name it straightforward.
Sure.
They're bozos.
Yes.
Are they?
Yes. And I'll tell you, and here's my theory. So, because I had to come up with the mathematical formula, right? So they always demand evidence for the obvious, but expect you to swallow the preposterous, like constantly. Like whatever their side is, it is obvious that we went to the moon, but they need evidence for it now. Well, how could this happen? And why didn't you do this? And blah, blah, blah. But then we're supposed to swallow the preposterous, that it was faked, which is preposterous.
And whatever proof you bring, it only reinforces their belief systems. And it's very strange because belief always prevails over logic. It's also a quality of the human brain, which is very odd.
Yes. You briefly mentioned, there's so many figures in the book and stuff, but when you mentioned Copernicus, and just when you think about how strong of a belief it was that the Earth was the center of the universe, and you were a heretic. You weren't just wrong. You were a heretic not to believe that. And that to say the opposite could end your life.
True. And I've thought a lot about the case of Galileo Galilei
Yes.
facing the Inquisition in the Vatican. And the big having read transcripts of court procedures at that time, it's very fascinating because most of the cardinals knew that Galileo was right.
Wow.
They knew it. They knew it. And the big question was, what is more important, faith or knowledge?
Wow.
And the decision came, the more important is faith. And in a way, it's an interesting choice that was taken because knowledge has brought disasters upon us that are unspeakable, and it will ultimately, I do the doomsday sayer again, it will ultimately be our demise. Yeah. And I shared that belief with Bruce Chatwin, the British writer, a wonderful writer, who has been traveling on foot. I have traveled on foot quite a bit.
Yes, we were just talking about
important,
yes.
Important things both of us would do on foot. And he kept arguing the departure of the human race from a nomadic existence has not done very good to the human race, and it will finish us off. The amount of knowledge, meaning we become sedentary, we start science, we start cities, we start civilization, we start technology, and technology will bring us down as a species.
Yeah, or replace.
So in the question of Galileo, I see in the context of a deeper context of not a system of geocentric or heliocentric system, the question of faith and knowledge.
Does faith, which one embodies truth, faith or knowledge?
We have no idea. well, there is in Catholic belief system, according to a dogma, there's the certainty of redemption, and certainty of some sort of a truth inherent in the dogmas, because the third element in the Trinity, the Holy Spirit, keeps watching over it.
Right.
And because of that, the Pope in Rome, an American now, inherently now is infallible, not predicting the game between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, but
he's a Cubs fan in all fairness.
But if he issues an article of faith, ex cathedra, meaning from the chair, from the Holy See.
Right.
And in that case, he's infallible, but infallible if you are part of the system, if you're inside of the system.
I think as a Catholic, I will say that the whole infallible thing, I think Catholics stopped dealing with that like by the Second Vatican, in the 60s. The Catholics, to me, your ordinary run-of-the-mill Catholics, they treat the Pope like the English treat the Queen. It's like, thank you, Queen, it's great seeing you, or the King. It's like, but you don't pass the laws anymore, it's that type of thing. But it's nice seeing you, we respect you, it's that type of thing. But, because people don't listen to the Pope. I don't know one Catholic that really listens to the Pope. They like the Pope, and they think the Pope is, it's great to have a Pope. But not for infallible doctrine. It's always like, this is advice.
Yes.
That's the modern Catholicism is actually.
No, Catholicism is a special creature. I converted to Catholicism at age 14. It dwindled away fairly quickly, but
I call myself Cathnostic, by the way.
Yes, but at that time there was something sublime, something transcendent missing in my heart, in my soul. There was a void. And becoming a Catholic, I became it against against the odds, and the odds were church history, the odds were the dogmas, and also a third big obstacle, the church hierarchy.
Right.
Because in Islam you don't have that hierarchy. You can be a faithful, and you are only in prayer, have conversation with God. You don't need a priest or anyone in between. You don't need the church in between.
Right.
So it was a long quest, and I studied the debates of the Council of Nicaea in 334, 336.
Right.
100 years later, the Council of Ephesus, because at that time the nature of God was established. What is the nature of God? What is the nature of Jesus Christ? Is God as a creator of time? He must be outside of time.
Right.
Yet his son was born within time. So does God Father have a different essence than his son? So all these things were debated 1,700 years ago.
Fascinating when you think of it.
And I followed the argumentation.
Yeah, because there's so much recency bias. Like, people didn't think, we landed on the moon, whatever, 40 years ago, but yet they're having these discussions 1,700 years ago about the existence of a supreme being and all that stuff. Also, Catholicism, or I should say Christianity or whatever it is, it really changed how people's relationship with religion at that time. When you really think of the world that it landed in, it's pretty extraordinary that it was able to get through and make a mark and give people this new belief system that could put their life in danger also at the same time. Is that one of the powers, do you think, of people feeling when they're searching for truth? Because you also talk about the search for truth and feeling that, that connection is that important, that it's worth risking their life for.
I think it's always worth, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter what politics at that time or nowadays are. We have to deal with it, and of course, fake news can be created now at high speed through AI. It can spread faster than anything ever before through the internet. So we have a new playing field, and we better deal with it.
Well, in your book, you also mentioned how fake news has been around a long time. Right?
Of course, yes. We had it since we have written evidence of historical events, and I'm describing fake news by Ramses III about the Battle of Kadesh, 1270
you
or so.
That battle. Right.
You remember that battle because it is fairly well described in historical evidence, and there's a peace treaty, the oldest peace treaty that ever came down to us. Comes from that battle, and it's still in existence physically.
Yeah, I found what's fascinating about it, because you're right. There was, that I think might have been hieroglyphics or whatever it is, the account from their point of view of the victory. But since there was another account from the other side, we get to get a clearer picture.
They were even more victorious. The other ones.
And you rarely get that in history,
But there are beautiful things out in history. For example, I always was fascinated, and I describe it, the Emperor Nero. And after his suicide, various fake Neros appear in northern Greece, appear in Asia Minor, and they are pompous, and they have entourage, and they have bodyguards, and they have musicians, a marching band in front of them. Beautiful, beautiful. I wish I could be Nero in that time where there were no telephones. And of course, part of it, I do believe that part of it is also a human quality. We want to be misled. We want to be given fake news. We want to participate. I didn't know that until we sat together half an hour ago, that you do magic tricks at the Magic Castle. I've been at the Magic Castle and I find it wonderful. Yeah. I know I'm entering now into a realm of fake, of deception, of misdirections, deceptions, and yet how did they do it? And I know it's all fake.
No, we lie to people and they thank us.
Yes, and they pay to see it, and
pay to see it.
And people pay for WrestleMania. Right. And I find it. No, it's.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yes, it's amazing because everyone, the fighters, the referee, the audience, everybody, the media, everybody knows this is prefabricated, orchestrated fights, and yet the truthful thing are the emotions, the collective emotions, and it's I call it in the book a certain axiom of emotions, axioms of emotions that you have. I mean, you have axioms in mathematics, reduced, and you cannot explain it any further. And in a way, they are truthful. And there are axioms out of emotion in operas. Yes. And I have staged operas, and I have witnessed it. And I describe over 7 pages or so the story of a Verdi opera that is so unbelievably beyond all statistics.
There's 7 pages of a description of an opera. After the 3rd page, I'm like,
of the story of an opera. Yeah.
Yes,
and it is crazier than anything you could ever invent. Yeah. And yet the audience buys it and wants to buy it. And it's because it fulfills the desire for reinforcing our axioms, axioms of emotions. And it's not so distinct from WrestleMania.
Yes, it's true. You know,
and you better study it.
Yeah.
Study what's out there.
Right.
Yeah.
I better study? Or?
Yes, you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure where this was going for a second.
Study and report back.
Yes, exactly. That's kind of my job in life. I hated homework in school, and I have it every day of my life now. This is my punishment. Sometimes truth has a casualty in real time. Vietnam War was an example of that, where the truth of war kind of hit people in a different way than it had never done before because it was on television. One of your most riveting films to me was Little Dieter Needs to Fly. Yeah. It's riveting if you haven't seen this. If you have seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Because, first of all, it's a world that isn't here anymore, the world he grew up in, and some of that. But it also changed him. But the way he describes how war actually is not these movies, and it's not what's written in the books, and it's the nitty-gritty and the inhumanity of it, the brutality of it, the boredom of it. You know, there's so much of it, the danger of it, how scared you are. And for people to see on television how nasty war was for the first time, I think it changed people forever. You can't go back to the way it was before that, right?
Sure, and I have been fascinated by, for example, the phenomenon of child soldiers. And I did a film, Ballad of the Little Soldier, about child soldiers, an elite commando unit in Nicaragua, but they were trained in Honduras. And I was with them, and we came under serious fire. And they were between 8 and 11, and always sent to the vanguard because they were the most, the bravest ones, oblivious of danger. And many of those whom you see in this film, Ballad of the Little Soldier, were dead within 3 months. Yeah. And all of a sudden you are into something that is beyond cinema.
Yeah. Here's something I want to ask you. What is your observation of what's going on with Israel and Hamas right now in Gaza? It seems like truth is a volleyball, to me.
Thucydides, in his most famous book on the Peloponnesian War, he famously said, truth is the first casualty in the fog of war.
Right.
And of course we have this fog of war, and I'm very cautious about the narrative of Israel. I'm equally cautious by the narrative of the Palestinian side. Mm-hmm. What I do is I trust nothing.
Right.
I do not trust any media, in particular the mainstream media. Mm-hmm. But I access mainstream media just to get, I do not want to dwell and linger and loiter in a bubble of my own narrative. I immediately go out and listen and look at what does Al Jazeera say about it, what does the Chinese news agency say about it, what is the Vatican saying about it, and you never get the truth, but you get a more nuanced texture or fabric of what might constitute the truth.
Yeah.
So you get it much more nuanced, and it's very, very healthy. In particular, as we have AI out now, you have to be vigilant in distrust. You have to distrust every email that reaches you, every text that reaches you on your cell phone, every sort of ultimatum by the IRS which reached me. I had to pay back tax.
God, no way.
Underpaid my taxes $14.99, and I better do it within a week.
It's not even an ambitious fake. Right, yeah.
Well, I almost swallowed it. I almost swallowed it until an 11-year-old told me, "Oh no, don't touch it, don't even click on it," and I had to be me as a donkey there, had to learn what are the alarm signals. Yeah. And the 11-year-old have it. They know it. They understand it. Yes. Not all of it. And behind every email maybe an attempt to get hold of your data, maybe an attempt of blackmail, maybe an attempt, young teenage girls get a photo of a young blonde jock with a surfboard and wants to befriend her. And ultimately it turns out it's a 65-year-old predator. So they have to be cautious, and I think they are about to learn it. And there's a lot of homework that we have to do, and AI, for example, my voice has been better replicated and imitated on AI than by real actors or amateurs. You may find you tomorrow in a porno film. No, I mean...
No one wants to see that, trust me. No one wants to see that.
Yes, exactly, and yeah. And how do you stay out of the porno?
I have a very easy way to stay out of porno. No one wants to see me in porno.
Yeah, but somebody ill-willing...
No, trust me, no one wants to see me. No.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, but in something else, let's say in a
I don't even want to see myself naked, I get out of the shower and go, oh, Lord, that's me. Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, if you're caught naked by someone filming,
right.
Just show up and say a spectacle to behold. Finally somebody is interested. So that takes a wind. That probably takes the wind out of the sails.
Although, if we're going to talk about porn, it's interesting because it's mainstream now, and a lot of young people have used porn to kind of substitute an actual sexual life. So it's in some ways become, a truer form of, I don't know, maybe even intimacy, if you will. And now you have like AI companionship with even robotics and things like that. This is becoming a real thing. I mean, we're joking about it, but that world, and by the way, you have to give porn credit for being early adopters of technology. They really are. I mean, even the cave painting is an early adopter of drawing, and it was all porn at first, too. You know.
Yes,
So
but
just give a shout out to porn. You can't.
But Larry, let's face it, that we love a woman and her scent, and love to see her next to you and cook a meal for her and touch her hand and touch her hair, will never replace a porno film or some sort of.
You mean the other way around?
A robot.
Right. Right.
The robots are the losers.
Yeah. I think I got that. Yeah. Unless there's a game on, and that takes, that's everything. You did an interesting film once about, I think it was Japanese actors standing in for family members. Was that what it was? Can you talk about that and explain? That's fascinating.
It's a very fascinating phenomenon, and I describe it.
Yeah.
An agency opened some 10, 12 years ago in Japan, where you can rent a friend if you're a lonesome person.
Rent a friend.
Rent a friend for the afternoon.
Okay.
Play cards, hit the bars, and have a great time.
Yeah, go see a
and
porno.
even though you have rented the guy, you may have a real good time.
Yeah.
And in particular, weddings have a great demand. The bride cannot present her father at the wedding, taking her down the aisle, because the father is an alcoholic, so drunk that he cannot stand upright. Wow. So they rent a father who is quickly briefed about family events and so in the name of the dog and whatever.
They replaced the father?
Yes, in real weddings. In real
weddings.
Like
Meghan Markle did.
And
that
I've seen
thing,
it.
right?
I've seen it. They do it. Yeah. And I made a film about an 11-year-old girl who is longing for her father, whom she has never met. The father divorced when she was under 2 years old. She doesn't remember his voice, his face, anything, and is longing for a father. Finally, the mother rents a fake father from an agency. And he steps in and meets her and explained, I'm your father, and I didn't want to contact you because my new family now doesn't like that I'm...
And did she know it's fake, or she...
No, well, in my film, they're all actors, of course.
Right, of course. I mean, but the premise...
No, my story, my invented story, she doesn't know, but she becomes more and more confident, even starts to lie to him in smaller things, showing him photos on her cell phone. And there's a beautiful one with her in a yoga pose on a beach. And he says, this is beautiful in this beach. Where did you take it? And she says, my mom took it on a beach in Bali. An hour later, our actor is with a mother and speaks about the cell phone photos, and he should give her a little bit more slack to publish a little bit more. And there was this beautiful photo in yoga pose in Bali, and the mother says, Bali, what do you mean? I did that photo on a local beach near Tokyo. She was lying to you in a small, to embellish, make her life more interesting. And the whole thing unravels when the real mother falls in love with the rented father, the rented husband. So that's basically the story. But now the real interest, and the interesting thing is the emotions. Everything in the film is a lie. Right. Everything. And the emotions are true.
Wow.
And very interesting to watch that after my film was published, the national television in Japan, NHK, made a documentary on the leading character who founded this family romance. And he did various interviews, shows him around, and they ask him at the end, can you provide us one of your clients who would eventually talk on camera? So he says, give me 2 days. 2 days later he comes And he says there's this elderly gentleman who various times rented a friend in his solitude, and he loved it. They interview this elderly man, air the show, and minutes later, the entire internet goes wild. This man whom you interviewed as an elderly man, a client, was not a client, he was an actor from the stable of family romance as well.
Yeah.
So NHK had to apologize on air. Losing face is really a hard thing in Japan.
Yeah.
And then everybody turns against Yuichi Ishii, the inventor of family romance, and said, yeah, you lied. And he said, now the real interesting thing comes now. He defends himself. Had I provided a real elderly man in the depth of his solitude, he probably would have given me only half the truth. He would have embellished his solitude a little bit here and there. But since I have sent you an actor from my stable who has done this job 210 times, you get the real truth from that man, and he's right. From the liar, from the imposter, from the one who stands in, you get the real truth.
I love that. I mean, it's so... Okay, let me ask, this is going to sound like a simple question, but it really isn't. So if enough people believe a lie, let's say, or let's say, if a lie is believed long enough, can it actually become the truth? And I mean, really become the truth?
No.
Are you sure about that?
I'm sure about it. Leonardo da Vinci said it, truth is a daughter of time. He actually stole it from an obscure ancient Roman writer, Aulus Gellius. Truth is a daughter of time. And for example, Copernicus discovering that our Earth is not the center of the universe, it took decades until it came today. Galileo was the next big step. So I do believe that what resembles truth, at least, comes out there. And it's fascinating that sometimes, in a little bit like with Yuichi Ishii, that people want to enter a fake bubble. And I describe an incident in the book here. I wore the robe of a priest in a film by Harmony Korine, Mr. Lonely. And I was done filming, and I was acting a Catholic priest who flies small planes, dropping food stuff over starving indigenous villages. And there was, beyond the fence, there was at this small airfield, there was a young black man with a bunch of flowers wilted. And I had seen him the day before. Now he's again here. Again, the flower bunch even more wilted. And I engaged him in conversation. I was interested. And it turns out his wife had run away 2.5 years ago. Every day he's at this little airfield waiting for her and hoping she would return and he would have the flowers for her. I mean, heartbreaking. And he says, it's so weighing so much on my soul, can I confess to you? And I said, no, you can't confess to me. I wear the soutane, the robe of a Catholic priest, but I'm not, I'm an actor. Do you see the camera out there in the airfield? I'm an imposter, I'm an actor. And he said, call the camera, can you call the camera? So I called the camera and he said, I want to confess anyway. And on camera, the camera is rolling and confesses to me, and it was a very interesting confession because...
And it was truly like heartfult and sincere.
Yes, yes.
It wasn't like
and he
something.
was denying. I said to him, my son, I assume you have fornicated.
That's hilarious.
You have fornicated with another woman, and your wife left you with the 2 children. No, 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 it was not one woman. And I had the feeling, man, I should ask him, it must have been at least 5 women with whom you fornicate. Yes, 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 he said. So it was being the priest in the confessional, you have to be good.
Yes.
So,
Well, it's that finger scares them when you're doing that.
and he confessed, and I said, yeah, but that was all made up, and you knew I was not a priest. No, he said, it's so much better, so much better. Thank you.
Wow.
And thank you, camera. Thank you, everyone, because it's so much better now that it was even on camera.
Yeah. So going back to the
No, but I hear some laughing here, but I think there's something wondrous about it, something awe-inspiring.
Yeah, well, I was going back to the Catholic thing. It sounds like he genuinely experienced absolution, in his...
I gave him absolution.
Yes, exactly.
In Latin.
Right, but that's what his body, that's what he was feeling, that he actually went through that process.
I don't know, I never met him again.
Yeah.
But he was very, very delighted.
That's fascinating. You've done so many different films. We're going to take a couple of questions in a second. I wanted to ask you this before we go into that. So many different subjects, everything from Nosferatu. After that, how do you pick your subjects? Do you start with things you're interested in? Do you start with the question? Do you start with the problem? Does material come to you? What's your normal starting point for your projects?
There's no regular procedure, but I'm a storyteller. I really am a storyteller. And if something bumps into me, I know this is big. It is so big, I have to do it right away. Grizzly Man was one of those cases. A producer showed me an article on Timothy Treadwell, who was killed and eaten by a bear together with his girlfriend, and it was 10 months ago.
Right.
And he said, we are doing a very interesting project, and read this. So I went home. Normally I don't read it. I read it, and I immediately dashed back. I said, I knew it was so big. And he didn't know exactly what to do with it. And it had to start quickly because the salmon run in Alaska had started, and the bears, before hibernation, eat tons of salmon and fatten themselves. And shooting had to start in 8 days, and I had a suspicion. that he didn't really know how to tackle it, not just as a producer, but he also did films as a director, interesting stuff. And I said, who is going to be the director? And now he listened very, very carefully, because it decided the fate of a film. He said, I'm kind of directing the film. And I heard kind of directing this film. And I kind of knew he didn't know exactly how to tackle it, and I pumped my hand toward him and I said, no, I will direct this film now. And he said, it would be an honor. He was so surprised. And I did the film.
Wow.
And it went very fast.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's 7, 8 lines in a book.
Sure.
And I know it, Aguirre, The Wrath of God. And I knew it's so big, and I was at that time with my soccer team in a bus traveling to Italy. We had Italian teams to play, and we brought 2 barrels of beer with us, Bavarian beer. Before we reached the Austrian border, 1 barrel was already open. Everybody got drunk, and there were obscene songs sung on the bus. And I had at that time a little typewriter and wrote the screenplay, and among hollers and shouts and my goalkeeper vomiting over me, and I wrote the screenplay in 2.5 days. It was so present.
Yeah.
I saw it all. So sometimes I just finished a film Actually, I finished 2 films.
You have 2 films out right now, right?
Yeah. One is Ghost Elephants, which will be released by Hulu, Disney Plus, and National Geographic. Ghost Elephants, but that will come out in March. But I finished a feature film with actors. It's called Bucking Fastered. And yeah, it has an odd
Play
title.
on words.
So, and
Is it about someone we know running the country or anything?
well, it's about sisters who are so close that they speak in unison.
Yeah.
They even make the same slip of tongue in unison. In court, they shout to the plaintiff, he's lying, every word he's saying is a lie, he's lying under oath. The bucking bastard is lying. Under oath, the same slip of tongue at the same moment. They dream the same dream. They fall in love with the same limo driver, who is actually Orlando Bloom, and the sisters are the Mara sisters, Kate and Rooney Mara. Absolutely wonderful, spectacular performances. And that film was dormant for decades because I had met twin sisters, in this case twin sisters, who spoke in unison. And I visited them quite a few times. I have an exchange of letters with them. And sometimes I thought it should be a film one day, and decades passed, and I published my memoirs, and I describe unfinished business, and I describe the story of these twin sisters. And all of a sudden there was like a lightning through me. Oh my God, you have not done this. What is wrong with you?
Wow.
What the hell is wrong? So I immediately sat down after I wrote the last line of my memoirs and wrote the screenplay in a week.
That's amazing.
And that's my newest film now.
That's great. Congratulations. Well, I can't wait to see that, too.
Yeah.
Yes. You know, we're going to go to questions, but I just wanted to say it's so fun. I like talking about writing and producing, and even on my podcast, I know we get a lot of people. I mean, we're in Hollywood too, but people are so fascinated by the process, because they don't get to hear about that and to hear from you. And there's so many different ways that you go into that, but I love hearing just how passionate you are about these things too. That's still as strong as ever.
Yes, I mean, I haven't changed in that respect. And of course, you say this kind of variety of subjects, there's a common thing. It's a worldview.
Right.
And a quest, something, some flame burning inside that has never left me. And as long as I'm physically around, you will see more stuff.
I like
from
it.
Me.
Bring it on. Let's see it. Ted's going to ask some questions there.
In an age such as ours, where the best lack all conviction and the worst are filled with passionate intensity, isn't ecstatic truth in danger of serving as another tool of fascism rather than one of liberation or discovery?
Are they talking about film? Let's just say, is film in trouble? How about that?
It always was in trouble, and it was always glorious. Mm-hmm. And I'm not in the.
That's true.
I'm not in the camp of those who complain constantly. I'm not. I don't like the culture of complaint. And I think cinema has a deep root in our ability of storytelling, and it is tens of thousands of years embedded in the human in human nature that we have this quality. And today it's wonderful that we have the tool of cinema, and I love it, what I do, and I love every aspect of it, including acting as a villain sometimes.
Yes.
Or including writing, including editing.
And poetry now, too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, Yeah, no, I'm not.
One thing you talk about also as an addition on this, and I agree with this too, there was that whole cinema verite movement, you know, and some of it I think is borrowed in this what's called fake documentary and mockumentary. And some of that to me is borrowing what people think is realism for truth, which I don't think they're the same thing.
No, facts for truth.
Yes, facts for truth, you know. You want to talk about that a little bit?
No, that's a very, very old misconception. To equalize facts with truth. And facts cannot be ignored because they have normative power. They create norms. For example, our cars make it necessary that we have traffic rules. So they create norms. But truth is something that illuminates us. Truth, again, in quotes, I touch it only with a pair of pliers. But I'm after something that illuminates us, that does not add fact. You see a lot of that on television, not only in America, worldwide. This kind of TV in stories do not interest me much. There's not much in it for me.
Yeah.
I want to take you into a different realm, into some country, into some area of fever dreams where you can experience true awe.
Yeah.
How much awe is there, and you see it in all my films.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ryan asks, Mr. Herzog, you've long celebrated impossible dreams, like hauling a steamship over a mountain. Yet you've also called some grand ideas, such as colonizing Mars, as ridiculous and obscene. How do you distinguish a vision worth risking everything for and a delusion best left alone?
Well, you see, impossible dreams. Number one, I don't dream. I don't dream at night, so I'm a strange contradiction against what the shrinks worldwide maintain. No, I'm a living example. I do not dream, period. And Fitzcarraldo is not an impossible dream, because I moved a ship over a mountain. You see, and so many young people are coming at me and they ask me, how can I tackle that and what should I do? And I keep telling them, dream big, but do the doable. And I've always done the doable. And colonizing Mars is not colonizing with 1 million people is not doable. And you see, you don't need to be an astronomer. You do not need to a rocket scientist to know that it's not doable. Of course, it will be doable that one day, fairly soon, we'll have a little bunch, a handful of astronauts for a few days or a few months on Mars, and better get them out fast because robots are much healthier out there. We are too fragile for the poison, the poisonous ground, for the radiation, for the lack of oxygen, for the lack of water, for the lack of everything. And it is an obscenity to believe that we should move human beings by the millions to Mars. We should rather keep our planet inhabitable instead of make something like Mars habitable. And we are not capable to colonize with 1 million people. And my simple answer to that is, you do not need to be a chicken in order to know that the egg is rotten. So.
And I'll just say, white people got to colonize, Werner. White people got to colonize. I mean, you got to understand how this works.
Yeah.
Greg asks, as AI image synthesis becomes indistinguishable from reality, what does the future of documentary filmmaking look like to you?
I'm not a prophet. I like to still do films, and I like to see films in the future that are not simply fact-oriented. I do not want to see films that are made like the fly on the wall. Otherwise, I don't want to see a movie made from surveillance cameras in my bank. Because you have to watch 15 years of footage and not a single bank robber shows up. Hell no, I don't want to see that. So I want
Unless
to
you did it
interfere.
on purpose. Unless you made art out of that. Right?
Yeah, well, that makes it interesting to show up in disguise as a bank robber. And I know what you're after. No, but life is so full of surprises, so full of incredible things, so full of awe, that I myself will pursue that, and I wish other people would pursue things that are outside of this normative behavior, what you see on television day in, day out. And of course, many people follow this advice, but you have to find your own way, your own perspective, your own stories. Don't try to be a clone of myself. That would make me rotate in my grave.
Yeah, Ted, don't do that.
Stephen asks, if your life were a film directed by someone else, what moment would you hope they invent, not recreate, but invent to capture your essence?
Very nice. That's a great question for
as
you.
an actor, you mean?
Yes, what moment in your life would they invent, not recreate?
Yeah. Well, that's hard to say. Probably they have to invent something that is already documented, like me being shot. Because in the internet you see this was all staged. But it hurt, I know it actually happened. And the bullet, which was not a very significant bullet, it actually perforated everything but didn't go into my intestines. That would have been bad. But it was caught on tape during a live interview on BBC. So now there's something seemingly a fact established. Now, make some sort of invention, a big convoluted invention that this will be part of an invented Herzog. That would be interesting.
Very interesting. I like that question.
Sarah asks, Dear Werner, I have a socio-political question. Do you think American democracy is as vulnerable to fascism as German democracy before the rise of Nazism?
Yeah, well, America No, I'm a guest in your country. I wouldn't be in your country working and living here if I didn't love your country. So it has phenomenal opportunities. It supports those who come and bring something, that offer something, that bring joy to you and bring stories to you. I love your country for that. And America has this astonishing quality to rejuvenate itself, to re-establish itself, to come back on its feet. And everything that you are seeing now, yes, there are serious political things happening that are fairly new. Don't whine. Don't go into a culture of complaint. Just if you have different opinion, fight for your opinion. Do something about it. And it's not. And for example, the Trump presidency, it's not that the Russians voted for him or they made it possible. No, it is America who voted for him, and it's a popular vote, and the vote for the Senate, and the vote for Congress, and the Republican Party has a Supreme Court that is basically made up in the political thinking of the current administration. It's challenging and fascinating, but it is America. It is America, and it is mostly how I see it, it is a heartland of America that has been neglected and underfinanced, disenfranchised, undereducated, underpaid, underrepresented in Hollywood movies, for example. Why do we always see the millionaires in the Hollywood movies? Why don't we see a cattle rancher in Kansas? Why don't we do that? Why have you not made contact to your buddies who grew up in Iowa? When was the last time you spoke to them? Show them that you are interested in what they are doing. It's the heartland of America, and I have witnessed the best of America in the heartland. I was literally, as a young man, 23 years old, I abandoned a scholarship that I had after 5 days, and I was literally homeless, and I was picked up by a family that already had 6 children, and I was accepted as yet one more. I mean, incredibly, and I became part of a family.
Right.
And there's something glorious about it,
Yeah.
and solid, glorious, and really wonderful.
Well, it's interesting because America, of course, is based on an idea more than a piece of land or a tribe. And to stick with your theme, inalienable rights is another way to say truth.
Yeah.
You know, is another way to put that. Now, from my perspective, some of us had to work a lot harder to get some of those inalienable rights, than others, and part of the fight for America, too, is who gets to determine, what is America and what is real America and who are real Americans. There's always that, that's part of truth, too, where there's always been, I think, a soft lie that not all Americans are real Americans. But I would say in 9/11, when those New Yorkers died, I think those were real Americans, I don't care that they were on the coast, I have a real bias against just...
I do not deny that Boston has some inhabitants who are Americans.
Right.
No, but
no,
there's
what
thing.
I'm saying is the authenticity of the American experience belies the geography. It's all of America.
And it's solidified, and you are very lucky, it is solidified in your constitution.
Right, correct.
And I know of no country that has such a deep nexus with their own constitution. And I remember the days when Arnold Schwarzenegger was governor of California, and he was very successful early on. And he should run for president. Right. I said, shout whatever you want. Make campaigns, whatever you want. He will not run for president because the man was born in Austria, period. He cannot run.
Right.
And same thing, like now all these fears is the current president running for a 3rd term. He will not, as true as I'm sitting here, he will not, because ultimately the Constitution your Constitution is such a solid idea and had withstood storms and had to be modified and had to be amended. Yes, it's fine, but it is such a solid idea and document, and it will prevail. You see, you can change. you can. Yes, if you want to run a 3rd time for a 3rd term as president. Yes, you can, if you are capable to change the Constitution. Do that.
Yeah. I'm a little more cynical about that, probably, even though this probably...
Let's meet in 3 years from now.
Absolutely.
A little more than 3 years.
Done. I see a lot of intentionality behind the unraveling of some of these things that we hold precious. There's intentionality behind it. That's been a long game of intentionality. It's not an accident.
I understand you. I hear you, and I see it, and yet I personally have confidence in some very, very strong elements of America, how it's capable to rejuvenate itself, how it is capable to solidly anchor itself in the Constitution, period.
Or, comma, or we've had a good run, you know. It's been a good run. I mean, we can't, you know, not everybody wins back to back, you know, like the Dodgers, you know. Sometimes you get to the World Series.
It's very fascinating.
Yeah,
times.
we'll see. It'll be interesting, you know. Oceans rise, empires fall. We never know. Yeah.
Mido says, I'll never forget your advice to us filmmakers. Read, 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 read. Thanks to you, Mr. Herzog, I discovered one of my favorite books, The Peregrine by J.A. Baker. What books have you been enjoying recently?
And I'll add to that, in your book, you have a fascinating account of talking with Mike Tyson, who turned out to be an interesting reader too, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, Mike Tyson is a man who surprisingly being incarcerated for almost 5 years. Yeah. During that time, he has voraciously read. And I had a conversation with Mike Tyson completely out of the blue, and we talked about the Roman Republic, and we talked about obscure early Frankish kings, early medieval times.
Amazing.
And he would eloquently speak about Pippin the Short.
That's hilarious.
And nobody has heard of him, but he was an important one.
He was short. Pippin was short.
Pepper the Short, as the French call him. Anyway, so you shouldn't come with preconceived ideas when you meet people. And
right.
Mike Tyson, and he's a shy man with a lisp and of incredible intellectual curiosity. Mm-hmm. It's amazing, yeah. And reading, well, a list, I refuse to give you a list. I gave a few random books, among them The Peregrine by an obscure writer in England, J.A. Baker, who wrote this book in the 60s, watching peregrine falcons, at that time almost extinct in England. And he does it with such incredible enthusiasm and with such amazing participation that he almost seems to morph into step outside of himself,
right. Going
into the ecstasy and fly and soar with the falcons and swoop down and get the prey. So, and it's for everyone who makes films or who writes books or is an architect to observe the world out there with this amount of fascination and awe and love. That's what you have to have as a filmmaker.
I agree.
And that's why I recommend and I read things strangely across. I read at the moment something about a theorem in number theory, Fermat's last question, or Fermat's theorem, in the 1600s, a French mathematician postulated a question which took 400 years to solve. And it's very fascinating, and number theories has always somehow fascinated me. And at the same time, I'm rereading Flaubert, Madame Bovary. It's very, very beautiful.
Yeah.
Such a story, such a writer. And by the way, The Peregrine, it is written in prose so crystal clear, so beautiful, like nothing I've seen since Joseph Conrad or since the short stories of Hemingway.
Yeah.
That good.
Whew, man, that's a lot of good stuff.
But I could give you 500 other titles, and I refuse to do that.
I think if we just pause, we'll just start getting them. That'd be good.
What is the difference between making something beautiful or stylistic and making something true?
Oh, stylistic things can be truer than truth. It's not a contradiction. It is not something that excludes itself mutually. Very often, some films, and a wonderful, one of the greatest films ever maybe arguably even the greatest ever Japanese film from 1954, Rashomon. It is highly stylized.
Right.
It has an aesthetic balance that I've never seen in any film before or after, because creating a balance of storytelling, a balance of camera work, a balance of timing, music, inner flow of a story, all these elements are perfectly together in Rashomon. And Rashomon is a story of a waylayer, a robber who holds up a young couple, aristocrats, and kills the husband and rapes the young woman. And you see the story from 5 different angles.
Right.
From the side of the waylaying of the robber, from the side of the woman, from the side of the man, from the side of the ghost of the woman, and various aspects of truth. And what remains is a depth of stylization.
Yeah.
And if you try to separate it, you start to tear a film asunder. And that's what we should not do, and that's what I have against film studies. They are into vivisection of movies, and I do not like them. I do not like them. Just send them anywhere, into any desert. Send them, but not...
Sounds like Arnold saying it.
No, do not allow them to spread out in academia, and now it has happened to poetry. Theory of poetry has almost destroyed poetry.
Wow.
It has not managed. Now film studies, film theory is trying to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yes, fight them,
Contradict
them.
I agree.
Do not
I'll
do
agree.
not trust them. Do not trust them. Do not believe them, and do not listen them.
That's awesome.
Watch good movies and read good books.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree 1,000%. I will add to this. Also, art for art's sake, movies for movies' sake. Watch movies to enjoy the movies too,
Yes.
not to break it down. One of my favorite things every year on Halloween is to see the silent movie at the Disney Concert Hall, and they had Nosferatu one year.
Yeah.
And to see what F.W. Murnau, I mean, it was German Expressionism at the time, the height of that, but it still has an effect on you.
Sure.
I mean,
it's timeless.
It's timeless,
Timeless,
and of course it's been emulated and that sort of thing.
And you see the joy of cinema. You see that I'm the last one whom you would suspect that I'm a great fan of Fred Astaire movies, but I am. And seeing Fred Astaire dancing with his own shadows on a big screen, it is the most wonderful thing, purest form of cinema. It's the greatest thing you can ever see on a screen. He has 3 gigantic shadows, and then he stops, but the shadows keep on dancing,
Right. Yeah.
and then he tries to catch up with them. I mean, it's just a miracle. It's a miracle of cinema, and there's no deeper meaning in it. There's no philosophical thought in it. It's the joy of cinema. Just go and see Fred Astaire dancing with his own shadow, and that will make your day or your year.
And a joy for us is Werner Herzog, you guys.